Hi and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann and today we're playing with Surfacez inks and acetate. The front of my card has a stamped inked focal, and this is a piece of acetate that has been colored with Surfacez inks. And I think if I wiggle this a little bit, you can see the shine of that acetate piece on there. Well, if you've worked with Surfacez inks before, you know that they're a multi-surface ink pad. And that means that it can work equally well on porous surfaces like paper or cardstock, as well as non-porous surfaces like acetate or plastic or even glass. And of course, the acetate is what I've used here on my card. So let me show you how I've done this. First, I've got my piece of acetate just on a piece of scrap paper. I know it's going to be a little tricky to see it right now, but once I add color on here, you will see it. So I'm going to start with my marmalade Surfacez. And I'm going to do a direct to paper inking technique. I guess you would call it a direct to acetate inking technique. So it's just directly from the ink pad onto my surface. I'm going to turn this around a little bit and get the other side. I'm just scrubbing the color on. I'm not trying to create a pattern or anything else. So I've got my marmalade on here. And then I'm going to come back with my berry ink. So this is a really nice, fun pink color, and I'm going to repeat the same process. Now, because this ink has already dried, I don't have to worry about it contaminating my other ink pad. So that's the really nice thing about the Surfaces. They dry quickly. Let's see if I can get a better grip on this. And simply add more color. Now, if you are working with a brand new ink pad or a freshly re-inked ink pad, you may need to use a lighter touch. I'm using a pretty heavy touch on here because I think I need to re-ink my ink pads. I've been using them quite a lot. So I'll just add some more color here. And then I have my orange and pink blend. Now I could leave this as it is because it looks fine, but I wanted to add a bit of a textured effect. So I'm going to bring in my rubbing alcohol. This is in a spray bottle, and you can get this at your local pharmacy or drugstore. I picked it up at my pharmacy. You can also find it in the first aid department, I think, of some grocery stores. You do want it in a spritzer bottle because you're going to come in holding this maybe 8 to 10 inches away and give a few quick spritzes. And I think you can see already how that ink reacts to the rubbing alcohols, which is really, really cool. So I could also leave this as it is and have a really cool background, but I'm going to add my stamping now. And the stamp set that I'm working with is from Paper Artsy. I'm going to use this big, pretty dandelion on here. They're red rubber stamps, but they have a cling. So I've just put it onto my acrylic block, and I'm going to ink it up with Scarlet. This is one of my favorite Surfaces colors because it's red, but it's a little bit of a different shade of red. It's a little bit unusual. It's not like a bright cherry red or an orangey red. It's almost a burgundy color of red, but it's beautiful. So I'm going to add this onto my stamp and then just turn this over and stamp my design. And then lift, and I have a beautiful stamp ready to go. Now I'm going to clean off my stamp with just a dry tissue or cloth or something, and then I'm going to stamp again using the marmalade. So I'm going to do something that I call side stamping, and I think I probably just made that up. I'm sure somebody else has a more technical term. Basically, once I've got my stamp inked up, I'm going to stamp it not directly on top of the first image and not over to the side, but just next to it on the side, slightly overlapping. So it creates kind of a shadow or a halo effect. And you can see that like so. Now you could continue on and create lots of different, a whole field of dandelions if you wanted to, creating kind of a shadow effect like so. I left it just with 2, and then I can go ahead and add this onto my card front. So let me bring back in my card and we can talk about what I've done on here. One of the big questions, of course, when working with acetate is how do you attach it to your paper? Well, you can use a touch of glue stick, which is what I did underneath some of this colored area. But then I also wanted to use my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher. And this is a mini stapler, but it's smaller than a mini stapler. So the staples are even smaller. And I've just stapled them in X's, top and bottom on either side. Not really perfect, just to give it a little bit of an asymmetrical effect. I've stamped the Take Flight. This is stamped with black surfaces, just directly on here. This is from the same stamp set as well. A little knotted piece of sheer ribbon up here, and then I've just simply matted these and put them down onto my card front. So this is how you can stamp with surfaces on acetate, create a really fun background with rubbing alcohol. I hope you enjoyed today's show. For more ideas and inspiration, please do stop by my website at saranaumann.com. Thank you so much for joining me on Studio SN, and I will see you again next time.